Hello and welcome back, watch lovers. If there's one dive watch that can be described as being the archetypal dive watch, it would have to be the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. Its name is muted in the same breath as its famous counterpart, the Rolex Submariner, yet it was introduced to market 1 year earlier in 1953. Blancpain's most famous model was introduced while Jean-Jacques Fechter was at the company's helm at the beginning of the 1950s. He was himself a keen diver, so he also knew very well the requirements of a diving watch. During his time as the company's CEO, he was approached by two members of the French Navy Specialist Diving Unit who wanted Blancpain to create a diving watch that was not only reliable underwater, but also its style must be legible to be read while underwater. This unit would be the equivalent of today's US Navy SEALs or the British SBS. They approached him because there was no watch around at the time that was reliable enough to be put to professional or military use. As a result, the 50 Fathoms was born, its name referring to a nautical depth of just over 91 meters, which was the safest scuba diving depth achievable at the time. With the inclusion of a unidirectional bezel to mark the passing of time during a dive, the watch's design became a blueprint for all diving watches to follow. The watch had a diameter of 42mm and a black dial with a generously applied radium lume. Its legibility underwater was secured. Blancpain later dropped the use of the radioactive lume for a safer substance, but the watch's popularity grew amongst both professionals and civilian divers. Amongst professionals, it was adapted for use by the French, Czech, Polish, German, and even the US Navy over the years. Among civilians, it was most famously featured in Jacques Cousteau's movie Le Monde du Silence, or The Silent World, which went on to win the Palme d'Or Award in 1956. The original 50 Fathoms models ceased production in the 1970s as quartz watches became popular. It was not until 1997 when the 50 Fathoms was resurrected, this time as a range of luxury watches under the helm of the Swatch Group. One of the most popular models in the new lineup, the 50 Fathoms Automatique, will now set you back a cool $14,000. If you love the look of the Blancpain 50 Fathoms but are unable or unwilling to afford the price tag, there is an alternative watch which has the similar look and feel of the original 50 Fathoms, the Seiko SNZH55. Seiko fans consider this watch to be an homage to the original 50 Fathoms and have lovingly given it a nickname of Seiko 55 Fathoms. The extra 5 because it is a part of Seiko's 5 range of watches, which are automatic mechanical watches, mostly with a 23 jewel movement. This watch retails at an average of $140, which is a ridiculous 100 times cheaper than a modern 50 Fathoms. Although it is 100 times cheaper, it does not mean that the Blancpain is 100 times better than the Seiko. The Blancpain certainly uses better quality parts such as a sapphire crystal instead of mineral glass crystal, as you would expect at this price point. The Seiko also uses a somewhat industrial 23 jewel movement that is undecorated, but with an accuracy of around plus or minus 8 seconds a day, it is more than acceptable. With a diameter of 42mm and a non-manually windable automatic mechanism, the Seiko has more in common with the original 50 Fathoms than the modern 50 Fathoms. The Seiko also has a water resistance of 100 meters, which again is close to the nautical depth of 50 Fathoms. Even though the SNZH55 already has a similar look and feel to the 50 Fathoms, a whole industry and subculture has grown around modding or modifying the Seiko to make it even more reminiscent to the 50 Fathoms. Aftermarket parts such as dials, bezels and hands can be purchased to modify the Seiko, like the model here. These parts are relatively cheap, starting at around $30, so you could end up with a watch that costs around $200 to $300 after modification, but which looks way more expensive. Even the unaltered Seiko 5 I feel is one of the best looking watches in Seiko's range, not to mention its value. If you want to check out the latest price of the Seiko, I've left links in the description below. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Thank you for watching, and until next time, this has been Roger from the Vintage Watch Collector, and see you next time.